Up the Long Ladder. Why the is this episode called Up the Long Ladder?
I have no clue. This episode sucked.
Proximity alert. Vessel approaching. The vessel is hailing.
Space.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
It's Left Track. Hi, welcome to Left Track,
Hi.
your leftist Star Trek podcast. I'm Eric, and I'm just a simple Irish smoke show. I'm a real Irish hottie over here, and Riker wants to make the sex on me. I am, of course, joined by Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian. I am a pot still that was brought aboard the Enterprise to make liquor.
And Zods.
I'm very offended.
Today it's episode 30 of Left Track, and we're covering the classic, the incredible, memorable episode Up the Long Ladder, which I forgot even had a B plot or a second half. I didn't remember anything about this episode, and then I started watching it and I'm like, oh yes, this is the one where they meet all those folksy people. Then I remember that they were explicitly Irish, very very explicitly Irish.
Yeah, I gathered that the second they were beamed onto the fucking teleporter. Like the second I saw the fucking hay and like the hats, I was like, oh my
They
Oh,
have to
no.
open their fucking mouth.
oh god. Oh god. This is terrible.
Oh, fuck. Oh, okay. Well, we open up the episode with Worf. He's on edge, literally, because it's mating season. They get some sort of distress call from old Earth that remarkably sounds like just a game of Galaga that Picard installed on his ready room computer. But they come out and Worf has collapsed. He's covered in sweat because he's just so horny. Worf tells Pulaski that Klingons do not faint, which is a medical fact that Pulaski backs up. So we know for certain Klingons do not faint. Because apparently fainting is too feminine for a Klingon. They don't even like the word faint. It's just not masculine enough.
Yeah, what was the reason? They figured it out immediately. What was it?
Yes, it's because he has Klingon chicken pox.
Oh,
Measles.
Yeah. Oh, measles.
Wait, what's the difference between chicken pox and measles? Is there a
Oh.
difference?
They're
Yes,
different
there's
diseases.
a difference.
Oh.
Yes, there's a difference.
Okay, because I wrote Klingon chicken pox several times.
It's,
No, they
it's-
literally said it's the equivalent of measles.
Yeah,
Because I remember thinking like we eradicated. Like why would they know of measles since when we whatever. But
Yeah,
They only know about
no, it's
measles.
Klingon rubella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Klingon palsy. They only know about these things because Klingons are too masculine for vaccines, so they never invented vaccines. What is taking a vaccine if not just expressing your weakness to the viral and bacterial world? You know,
Mhm.
it's disgusting, really. So
Yeah.
I can see why.
I do enjoy that when like Worf is like, I can't have this children's disease. This is ridiculous. I would be embarrassed when people find out. And like Pulaski like asked Worf, how would you feel if Riker had the measles? And Worf was like, I would think he's a bitch.
And I'm exactly like that, audience. Oh my god. Yeah, and so Pulaski like covers for him. It's like, oh, he instead of having a disease like some kind of woman, he instead has no, he didn't. He was working out too hard, but he was also fasting, and so he worked out so hard that he fainted on the bridge. Pulaski out, and everyone just buys that. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
your
cool.
secret's safe with me, Worf. I'll lie for you.
Your
There you
secret's
go.
safe with me. It's oh god. So it took them an unusually long time to find out that there was like this ship that got lost in this region. That's the cause for the distress call. It's the Mariposa, and Data's like, oh, it's the Spanish word for butterfly, and Data just keeps talking about like random bullshit while Picard is trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
It literally tells Data, enough.
Data's reading the entire Spanish dictionary.
I mean, listen, it's their fault for using Data constantly like a fucking Alexa. You know, like
it's their fault for installing ChatGPT and Data. So Picard's looking at their complement, and they're like, oh, they've got some outdated technology. They've got a still. They've got a bunch of potatoes. They've got other Irish
a
things.
fucking loom or whatever. A spinning. No, my bad. Is spinning wheel. A fucking spinning wheel. And like they're like they have all this high tech technology, and it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why is this high tech technology for you when the fucking the shields and the fucking
they're low tech technology. They've got other like high tech technology. Then they've got like spinning wheels and shit. That's the confusing part. They're like, oh, why would they want to make and craft things with their hands? What the fuck? You just make a computer do it for you.
So true.
What? But there's a better explanation for this, because a new age eco-fascist Irish group apparently left the space presuming that the Earth would never recover after World War III, which may or may not be involved in eugenics in some way. So they banished all of the eco-fascist Irish, or just all of the Irish, off of the planet. Over the hundreds of years of space travel, they all naturally diseased of various alcohol-related illnesses before finally settling on a planet with all their straw and sheep and filth and dirt.
Jesus fucking Christ! This is like I am now convinced that this show is just literal, just fucking just racist propaganda.
Well,
like
it's like they have to have a code of honor for every single possible group. So we had just the whole of black people in regular code of honor. Now we have Irish code of honor.
It's homies, they just need to do it. This is the 80s, baby.
Listeners, this comes up later, and I'm jumping the gun a little bit before we talk about it. But they literally refer to the Irish in this as breeding stock. I am not being hyperbolic.
Yeah, Pulaski, they literally do that.
Pulaski literally uses the words breeding stock.
This is not a left track lie. The word breeding stock is used in this episode. Are you on the edge of your seat to find out where breeding stock comes into this?
This show is just fucking bonkers. Like there was no reason to go this hard. Like they literally, like, I'm surprised there wasn't like just like some Irishman in the background just beating his wife, like just like just to top everything off, like
that was in the background apparently.
Or there's just like a fist fight,
when Picard is like going down and looking at all of them, and he sees like two guys like laughing, he sees some like kids playing with a stick in the background, you can see a man just beating the shit. Never mind.
So
Worf comes down with Pulaski. Excuse me. Listen, you listening, you out there, you're probably Irish because everyone's apparently Irish. Every single white person in America claims to be Irish.
That's just because whiteness strips everyone of their culture, and so the only thing that they can do is still claim being Irish or Italian or some shit like that, because it's the only cultural touchstone that they have left. Because it's just like, you can ask any white person, like, oh, what do you know about Ireland? What do you know about Italy? And they fucking whatever, they'll spew a bunch of shit. But you start asking about like Poland or anything like the Eastern Europe or whatever, no fucking clue, fucking zero.
Yeah, and especially, and most of the Irish people out there anyway are cops, and if you have some sort of Irish blood in you, then you have some level of cop in you, and you know what, you've got to kill the Irish in your heart. I mean, the cop in your heart.
Jesus Christ.
Worf comes down, brings Pulaski some tea. Pulaski, because she, she's in the know. She's in to know about the things that Klingons like, and she's like, "Oh, no one's ever offered me the Klingon tea ceremony before," and she knows exactly what to do with it. She takes the little flower and she puts the little flower in the cup. The little flower was on a branch. That's what you do with it. The tea is extremely poisonous. It's fatal to humans, but also to Klingons, because but not to Klingons mostly, because Klingons are just so tough that they can handle it.
Yeah, it's just poison. It's poison that'll kill a human, but not quite kill a Klingon.
Because they're just so tough. They're just tougher than the average human. Yeah, it's not like one of those like different species things, because I'm not tougher than like a fucking mountain lion, just because if a mountain lion eats chocolate it'll die, and if I eat chocolate I'm mostly fine from the outside. Pulaski but then Pulaski is like, "Oh, I'm gonna trivialize this experience. It's supposed to be a test of bravery by taking the antidote beforehand." Pulaski the coward. No,
wow.
and Worf the poser is like, "Oh, I'm gonna write you some love poetry afterwards," and then they have sex, and it's like, and the Worf doesn't even care about this stuff. You at least get like a little cyanide, Pulaski, like just exactly the amount of cyanide that won't kill you. Just take that, share in the experience.
There you go.
Whatever. They arrive at the I don't know why my notes say this, but it's appropriate. They arrive at the Eagle fascist planet, and you take one look at their sun, like the actual sun, like in the sky, and like, holy shit, it's going fucking nuts. It is just wiling out. There are visible solar flares that are about as large as the sun itself. That sun is going nuts. But there's no artificial power source on the planet. There's no technology. There's no way to communicate. Troy's like, wait, don't transport these yokels on board. After 300 years of isolation, they could be very unsophisticated. Perhaps they could have even developed some sort of accent. Right. But Riker is sent to establish communications by laying some pipe, apparently. So after 300 years of this Irish colony, there's apparently only 200 people around. You think that a society from hundreds of years ago would have many hundreds upon hundreds of times that population. Like we find in a later episode that's actually pretty good, we find out that 12 survivors ended up creating a colony of like 12,000 in the space of like 50 years. But hey, what the fuck ever. There's some sort of problem, but for some reason, so Riker goes down and he's trying to communicate some problem to Picard, and Picard's like, he just doesn't want to hear it. at all. And so we get surprised when O'Brien transports a bunch of people on board. There's a pregnant teenager, 3 guys, 2 goats, a handful of chickens. So does that mean that
Literal fucking straw.
a bunch of straw and like boxes? Like, O'Brien doesn't seem to have like transported life signs. He wasn't like, 20 to beam up. He just took an area and just brought that entire area.
Yeah, including the
topsoil.
topsoil.
Yeah, there's one guy, he's just half phased through the wall because he just happened to be like standing on the side, and then like his half of his bloody body like falls to the left. It's really dark stuff. But hey, the Picard's sophisticated sensibilities are challenged as he goes down to the transport room to meet the people. And there's just a gap-toothed little girl that comes out to retrieve a chicken that escaped the transporter room. But Picard meets with the de facto leader, Whiskey McFamine. He introduces himself and attempts to marry his daughter off to Picard. But they beam the rest of the people up into the cargo bay. We hear many times throughout Star Trek about the fire suppression system, but which apparently involves lightning bolts. Apparently, if you happen to be standing on the fire, it would have suffocated you because it just like, I don't know, evaporates all of the oxygen.
It's supposed to just like create a containment zone that keeps any oxygen from getting in, so it all burns up and then it's gone.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
I just assumed,
that's all it is.
Okay, so it's like a force field that just like keeps it from going. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Picard come down. He's looking at all the people. You know, there's the domestic violence and rampant drinking just going on in the background. Dirty children are playing through the streets of the cargo bay, and some real angry Irish smoke show shows up and starts lecturing Picard, and Riker gets horned up immediately and starts hitting on her. And she's like, oh, we're talking about the men folk. They're getting drunk while the women have to take care of everything. Thanks, Star Trek. I know I've said this about a couple of things, but this is like you know what? Never mind. Actually,
I cannot stress enough. My jaw did not fucking close for I think the whole episode. I was literally I had no fucking words. I couldn't even it just kept getting worse and worse. Like,
yeah, it's pretty
there
bad.
There was like the last episode or whatever that we talked about, like the comment was made, or maybe it was like the episode previous, but Eric, you made a comment saying like vaudeville is alive and well here on The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like literally the vaudevillian, like over dramatic drunkard Irish is like on there. Like the guy even like takes a sip of like a drink and like crosses his eyes and stumbles forward.
Right.
That does literally happen.
And like it's just like oh my god, oof. And the guy like is like the guy they're talking to has the same Irish accent as like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins. So needless to say, not very good. Not very good at all. It's literally like Lucky Charms Leprechaun style fucking Irish. It's awful.
Pretty bad. Oh,
It's bad, yeah.
So Picard just
Like-
starts fucking like laughing at the situation. It's apparently so wild what's happening here, and apparently that was Patrick Stewart. He just started laughing and just incorporated it into his performance here. Yeah. So he's just laughing. He's like, oh, what a ridiculous situation. Me, a Frenchman, attempting to communicate with these dirty Irish. Oh, how humorous. Picard, he didn't think that. You know, the reason he was laughing in real life was because he's English. And he's like, Oh, what a hilarious bit of
Yeah, for him this was just fucking hysterical. Like this was
I'm sure.
I don't know enough like English like anti-Irish slurs. I that's my fault for not doing my research leading up to
Yeah,
this
good.
point.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Why they call their leader Whiskey McFamine, so we're getting there.
Jesus Christ.
So
It's like I kind of like feel that's like some J.K. Rowling naming it, like
Whiskey
type shit.
McFamine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't there an Irish character that did have something like that?
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, that's where I get Whiskey McFamine from. It was someone like making fun of the way that J.K. Rowling names things. But regardless, so oh my god, okay, so it looks like the fucking county fair inside of like, you know, there's a bunch of like stalls with like hay and stuff in them, and it's like in some convention center. I don't know if these cultural touchstones of my childhood are recognizable to either of you. Real county fair energy in there. So
It's the hay.
Yeah, seriously. They were pretty concerned with their entire town apparently being transported. Sorry, they weren't very concerned with their entire town being transported on board. Even though they don't know what a computer is, like they've never heard the word computer. It's like, oh yeah, suddenly we were in one place and now magically we're in another place. All right, life goes on.
Where can I ferment me potatoes? I brought me whiskey still here. You're like, just
they really did that. Yeah, I brought my still because that synthahol that they keep giving me, it tastes like shit. And then Worf's like, oh yeah, well, you know,
Apparently
get you
O'Brien
some
didn't tell
good
them
stuff.
that.
Oh God! When they walk up to O'Brien and they're just like, "Oh, I knew a good Irishman." It's just like, "Oh my
I knew a good Irishman would be running this ship. Oh, I don't know what accent I'm doing." So Riker walks up to the lady and they're all leaving. They're like, okay, let's leave these filthy Irish to their own bidding. And Riker's like, I'll catch up with y'all later. He goes in and he walks up to the lady. He just starts staring at her, just staring daggers into her soul.
Check the thumbnail. Like it's literally the creepiest fucking smile I've ever seen on fucking Jonathan Frank's face. Like,
well, that's not in this scene. The creepy smile is from the initial scene, but this
from
one
the
is
initial
just,
scene. Okay,
this one's just him stone faced, just staring at her. But she tells,
and she's like, "Oh, sorry, go ahead."
Yeah, she tells he tells her that the ship cleans itself. By the way, and she's like, "Oh, good for the bloody ship."
But where's a woman supposed to wash her feet?
Okay,
what the fuck?
Well, see
what
that.
The fuck?
Well, she but there's intimacy before this. You see, Zod, because Riker just stands there, just wearing her down with his erotic gaze, and eventually she senses the tone shift and starts heating up herself. She puts whatever thing she's just fucking with away, and then she like bows down to Riker. She lifts up her skirts and he goes, "Where can a lady go to wash her feet?" And Riker, could you wash my feet? And Riker goes, "Oh, I'll do more than that to your feet."
Oh my god! You know, Riker likes the dirty feet though.
It's so just
nothing like a filthy Irish foot. Like a potato fresh from the ground.
If it doesn't smell like potato and duck shit.
For some
Riker
reason,
was so excited. Like
he
was
was
like
very excited.
He was very excited.
Even though the Irish do not have a concept of like, you know, modernity or space travel or anything, they're like, oh well, hey, there's another colony in danger. Like, what do they understand about, what do and do not they understand about technology? It's been 300 years since they've seen like, any kind of advanced technology.
So Eric, I don't know how you've seen this many episode or whatever. I don't know how you've engaged with Star Trek to the length that you have and not realize that they're just terrible at making like educated guesses on like things that like about new like civilizations that they come across. Everyone is like that's not within the fucking Federation or whatever is just backwards, and just everything is just like inconceivable. Well, it's like to them, like it's.
Well, that's not true because we get some lovely civilized folk coming up pretty
Oh my
soon.
God. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Irish planet, like the whole thing there is, I really do think that they were kind of leaning into like a degeneration theory kind of thing, which tracks with the time period.
Well, no, because they
we're
talk
talking
about
the
fact that
age
they're
of
like
IQ.
eco-fascists. They talk about how they're like descendants from Lady K.
Yeah, but but they went to space, and they landed on a planet mostly successfully. They lost. They did lose a significant portion of the population, if I remember correctly, right? Both of them did, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there was some kind of
Yeah.
issue. I'm not 100% sure what it was, though.
Yeah, and then their society just kind of like, well, I mean, and if they're eco-fascist, then they like the idea might be that they degenerated their own society, and
I
it's
don't
like
even know. I don't even know like what you mean. I like you said that when we were watching it, like, oh, they're eco-fascists. I was like, what are you talking? I don't understand.
Because of the ideology. Because Picard was talking about how like, oh, there was this philosophical thought after the Third World War that like humanity was doomed, that we need to go back to a simpler time where technology wasn't corrupting the soul of man. Or something to that effect. That's why I call them eco-fascist, because because apparently their ideology was like primitivist in some way.
despite getting on a spaceship and leaving the planet.
Yeah, and using like other tools.
Yeah, but isn't that just the way of it? Anyways, yeah, like I don't know. I think it's very weird because it does kind of lean into that sort of like degeneracy mindset where it's like, oh yeah, that's like a real thing that can happen in a society in this like the ideology of the 90s, of the early 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean today still people think that kind of stuff is real because they're big dum-dums who can't think good. But I don't know. I think that's a lens to look at them through.
Yeah, well, so one of my theory here, my little headcanon here, is that like they were eco-fascists, and then the natural Irish charm just washed the fascism off of them over time, and then now they're going on to develop a proper Irish society, and of course and so they didn't have any kind of technology, they didn't have like any metalworking, but of course it's in their blood. They needed to manufacture alcohol somewhere, and so that necessitated progression on a technological scale.
Okay.
Well,
are you saying they when they got to the planet they did like a full Rich Verne, like they really just like they lit the ship on fire and said, I'm not looking back.
Yes, exactly. And then that proceeded for like 20 years. Then they were just like, oh my god, I really got to get drunk, and so they invented metallurgy in order to well, you ever seen this is an anime called Dr. Stone, which is about like what if the world resets to a more natural state, but then there was just one guy who just has the whole of like human technological advancement like within his skull. See, they had one of those people, except just for distilling alcohol into whiskey. And that was
it's a genetic memory, right?
Yes, and
or what's that called? No, what's that called again? What do they call it? They got it in ARC. What is it? Engrams. It's an engram.
Jesus,
like Assassin's
God, the world fucking sucks.
They have epigenetic memories of creating alcohol and building stills, and so you know what an Irish makes do. I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah,
going to apologize to the country of Ireland.
Yeah, seriously.
Not North Ireland. Sorry, I'm just joking. Obviously, there's only one Ireland. Riker
There you go.
brings, and it's North Ireland. I'm sorry, that's a joke. I'm
Jesus.
joking.
These nasty jokes keep falling out of your mouth. My God.
Riker brings the foot fetishist to. Oh yeah, the other colony's in danger. But who fucking cares? Let's get to the foot action. Riker brings the foot smoke show to his quarters, and she's in like a really sexy knitted top that like exposes her midriff. It's a look. It's very very.
It's very handmade. Like, 'cause that's the thing. Like, have you ever? Here's the thing. If you saw Cameron Diaz's portrayal of like an Irish like sex worker in Gangs of New York, that's kind of like the same kind of like catty attitude of like, you know, like,
yeah,
you can't tell me what to do, and you know, of course a man wants to, you know, fight and blah 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 instead of it's same fucking shit.
I never saw Gangs of New York because some annoying guy who was really into steampunk really liked that movie, and so it just and so I never watched.
They were just a Daniel Day-Lewis fan.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, really good.
Is he?
Gotta say,
Oh,
big
yeah.
fan.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll put
Daniel Day-Lewis
Gangs of
is
New
great.
York onto the list so I can study the sexy Irish folklore.
You know,
I feel like
You know what's
feel
good
like-
about Daniel Day-Lewis? He knew when to stop. Like, he was just like, yeah, I'm good. I don't have to...
like Emilio Estevez.
Is that what happened with Emilio?
Yeah, Emilio Estevez. He's a sheen. He's from an acting dynasty. He comes out. He explodes onto the scene. He chooses to be Latino, and then the moment that people get sick of him, he disappears off the face of the earth. Thank you, Emilio.
Oh, no one was sick of Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis was just like, I did what I wanted to do. I'm rich as fuck. I don't need to do anything else. This is fine.
I'm just saying, Daniel Day-Lewis, you could drink my milkshake.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis, do you want to find our oil? You want to drill, baby? Drill.
Baby, real.
This is getting far too homosexual. We're gonna have to ground this with some good gay panic. Riker not expressing immediate interest in sucking her toes. She's like, "What are you, gay?"
Yeah, she pretty much does. She's just like, oh, do you not like women? Like, type shit.
What are you, gay, Riker? Riker's like, no, I'm not gay. I'll prove it right now. And he sticks her foot in his mouth. Apparently,
Deep throats that foot.
Apparently, the technique to foot washing is you start at the top and you work your way down. Riker then undoes her hair, which doesn't really come down that far, but hey, he kisses her anyway. I think he's breaking the prime directive here, but you know what? you go, Riker. Have sex with that Irish fascist. So the damn Irishmen, here's the scene we were alluding to. They're trying to brew some hooch, and have confirmed that replicators can indeed make real alcohol, not just synthahol. I don't really know what synthahol is for. Maybe it's like, I don't know, is it alcohol? I know it doesn't get you as drunk, but maybe it also doesn't like fuck up your liver. But
yeah, my guess is it's supposed to be like less poisonous.
Yeah, but hey, whatever. But it can make alcohol. So congratulations. But they make a whiskey that apparently has no bites, and this is a fascinating IMDb trivia here that has the vast majority of which is downvotes. When Whiskey McFammin orders a whiskey from the replicator, he receives a cask-aged drink as indicated by the liquid's color. He doesn't care for, probably because, quote, whiskey is a generic term. He should have specified what kind of whiskey he wanted, as in, quote, Irish whiskey, fresh from a pot still, quote, or some other, according to his taste.
Shut the fuck up, nerds.
That's from the fucking IMDb?
That's someone put that in IMDb. And 17 people rated it helpful, 12 people rated it unhelpful. Thanks, IMDb. That's what half of the shit on IMDb is. It's some fucking nerd. Maybe it's because I don't drink, but God, alcohol nerds are just some of the worst people ever.
Shut the fuck up.
Wait,
Let me
wait.
live in peace. I'm kidding.
Pardon me.
I'm not really an alcohol nerd.
I'm not really an alcoholic.
I just dabble
I'm not
in alcoholism.
Really
It's
Irish.
fine.
So they're trying to brew some hooch, and they're like, oh, but here's a whiskey drink capable of killing anyone, and the Irish drink it, but because they're not human, they have a much greater alcohol tolerance than humans do. They can drink the Klingon drink. They're like, it's smoking, and I love it. Now that makes my eyes cross and makes me all dizzy. Now I'm gonna talk to my sexy daughter of like, so for Irish eco-fascists, they're surprisingly amenable to sending their children to learn with like the other children. I guess whatever manifesto they were following just got lost over the years, as I speculated earlier. They get this, and then well, look at that, they get to some other technologically advanced one. Apparently this colony was just lost in the shuffle. They just didn't. They just forgot. These guys set out into space, and then they were just forgotten about. And these people were like, "Oh, we assumed Earth was destroyed." And they're like, "Nope, Earth is actually the center of a vast galactic federation of planets. We're doing significantly better than all of you." But Troy warns that the guy is hiding something, and we ask for people to come down to the planet, but they never listen to Troy no matter what. Troy's only purpose is to just remove dramatic tension, and just invalidate any like sense of surprise that you may have had from what's going to come. But hey, whatever. They bring Worf along, which, like, I guess they're probably going to do anyway. Maybe that's acceding to Troy's concerns. And then they come down and they're like, are these people twins? Are these triplets? No, are they quadruplets? And then, we, the audience, are just like, no, they're clones. No, this is obviously clones. This is some sort of clone planet. But they're just like, oh, I can't figure out what's going on here. I live in this science fiction setting full of all of this like incredible technology, but I can't imagine there being clones. It's much more likely that there's just the fucking Octomom is present on this planet. It is just being a brood mother to everyone.
I mean, honestly, just having, I think that society should be structured around brood caves.
They don't introduce the brood caves until the end of the episode. So Pulaski starts scanning some guy who's looking at some sort of like Randian, like Atlas Shrugged type statue. Pulaski just goes, "Is your entire population clones?" And then they're like, "Da da da." Worf's like, "Clones? Clones?" It's fucking, yo, cool clones. I bet this was hacky back even in the fucking like 1989 or whatever this fucking episode aired. The down low is that they're on some like really shitty planet and only 5 colonists survived, and so they realize that the only way that they could protect themselves is via cloning. You think that they try to like scramble things up, like maybe just like genetically engineer some people, maybe like do some crossbreeding of individuals and like clone them so they have like a viable like population. But nope, they just do cloning in the absolute worst way possible, to the point where the concept of sexual reproduction is repugnant. Star Trek essentially saying here that sex has absolutely no purpose besides procreation.
Yay!
Pulaski explains that if you make clones of clones, that inevitably, like a bad Xerox, you start getting like degraded copies. And it's like, wait, why can't they just take the same material and then cultivate that and then just clone off of the same material each time? Why are you having to clone off of the most recent generation of clones? This seems like the worst possible way of doing that.
Well,
but
you
yeah,
know,
hey,
that's a good
whatever.
question. I'm sure there's problems actually with that, just because the longer something sits around, the more it changes, and yeah, I don't know. It's like
we have cells of this one woman that that like died in like the 60s or something, and we still just have her cells just around that we like propagate and just use for
that's
experiments.
true. That's true. And you know, I guess we'll just put off the ethical implications around that, because that was a whole thing. But
yeah. Now the family has control over like what's being done to that. But
yeah.
regardless, it's there. It happened.
Yeah, but also the thing is that she was that's anomalous. Like, that's not something you can do with everybody. If I remember correctly, she had some sort of cancer that basically they were using to propagate the cells from.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, why this? Well, you know, if you got your choices between well. That's a good point. Let's just assume that it's perfectly
Well,
scientific.
That's a good point. I'm still correct. Moving on.
No. I'm completely conceding here. That's a good point, and we're going to assume that that's exactly what happened here. But they're like, oh, hey, could we take some of you guys as clones? And apparently, no one wants to offer their DNA to be a clone, even though it would not affect them whatsoever. But it would violate their sanctity of life. And Riker and Pulaski, they get beamed. Geordi comes in looking for them, and for some reason they don't beam Geordi. They don't. For some reason, they don't.
You mean the disabled black guy?
For some reason, they take they take Riker and Pulaski, but they don't take Geordi there. Younger, more physically fit. He's a scientist. For some reason, they don't want Geordi. But hey, they'll take Pulaski. They'll take Riker.
Yeah, the like obvious choice for somebody who's got, like, you know, probably not too much. I mean, engineer, maybe quite a bit of radiation exposure, but yeah, I don't know. All of them are in space all the time, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And we're talking about Pulaski, who literally had to get like put back together with the teleporter to not have like a wasting aging disease anymore. Let's see. At this point, Riker has not actually been teleporter cloned yet, right?
No, he got teleporter cloned before the series.
He did, okay.
And which created Shadow Riker, which we'll get to at some point.
Yeah. You know, there's just a lot of weird things that have happened to all these people. Choosing an old woman who has been probably through she was afraid of transporters, so you know, maybe her not using transporters that much, less like pattern problems, right?
If Fry is your swimmers.
Yeah, maybe it does. I don't know. You know, but ultimately, you know, just finding somebody who's like of an older age at all and using them for that is like a bad idea because of certain genetic things that go on. Telomerase is a thing that you have to worry about, especially when it comes to cloning. But you know, I don't know. This is like I'm getting into the fucking weeds.
Well, it's and you know, they really definitely should, and they're punished for their racism, because Geordi can always tell when a human being is lying with his visor, and for some reason everyone lied about it when he came looking for Riker and Pulaski. Everyone lied to him. But even though they're just hanging out on the ship, and then they realize they have a gap in their memory. They have a big needle hole in their stomach, and oh my goodness, some of our epithelial cells are missing. They beam down to the planet and they see some humans being bred inside of a little cryotube, and they open it up, and Riker fucking kills their ass with what looks like a classic TOS era phaser. Just opens it up, sees like a malformed clone that presumably maybe himself, and he just vaporizes them, commits objective legal murder, a 93rd trimester abortion. But hey,
is that shit? Is that me?
not for long.
There's only one me or two, I guess.
Yeah, right. Riker ends up doing the exact same thing that Thomas, aka Shadow Riker. So the guy's just like, what the fuck else did you want us to do? We only got 5 people down here, and we'll be dead in 2 or 3 generations. And Troy reminds everyone that these are humans, but apparently cloning isn't the answer, because you would inevitably just have the same issue in another 15 generations, even though, like, I mean, can't they just, like, sexually reproduce once they have enough clones, and then they can avoid that issue? But, sex is too gross.
There's that, but also, if you have too small of a population, you get the same problems.
Well, yeah, but if they get enough people to clone, then surely they could have a viable population. Even if
we have 100 of the same person breeding with 100 of another of the same person.
No. I mean like enough individual people's clones. Like you get like 1,000 other clones, and you clone them, and everyone can just fuck. Or you know, turkey baster reproduce, whatever they want.
Whatever works for them. No, but I'm saying that, like, their gene pool. God damn it! I wish I had never studied any of this in college, because then I wouldn't be rambling about it. But if your gene pool is too small, which is what happens. One of the big problems with, like, clones reproducing and stuff like that, and, like, very small communities living out and separated from others, is that you end up having a lot of new and exciting problems show up just because of lack of genetic diversity among a gene pool. So
yeah, isn't the minimum like viable population 25 people, like the bare minimum, and you gotta plan things out for like 5 generations?
Yeah, I don't remember the number, but yeah, there have been numbers proposed.
Yeah, well, but there are thousands of people on the Enterprise, so it's like, so that's another thing. Yeah. I don't know why they didn't think of the turkey based solution.
One big orgy? No, why didn't they just think of one big orgy? Like everyone with the ability to breed or to be bred, please report to the planet.
Please, everyone, we're gonna need some pipe laying down on the planet. Please report to Transporter 15.
Or just get like a massive goon sesh going and get everybody to blast a load into a bottle.
That's what I'm proposing. Even if a lot of people,
the same bottle, they just take like a turkey baster.
It's like a loot box.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Just love
listeners. I'm sorry. This fucking episode sucks.
It does. It really does. Also, I guess we haven't gotten to it yet. When they bring the Irish down.
Well, yeah. Well, so yeah. I don't know why. Because honestly, the goon is a good idea, because like even if people are uncomfortable with the idea of being cloned, surely many more would be fine donating some goon or some eggs.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever.
Right?
I guess. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Like, come on.
And also, like, to donate eggs in the distant. Cool future of Star Trek. Don't they just put a teleporter in there and go yoink?
Yeah,
like it's not even a thing.
Eggs and sperm. You don't
teleport.
You don't even need the sticky magazine.
They just teleport. Yeah. They just teleport the sperm, into the egg. Inside someone's womb, already.
Yeah, you could. They could even fertilize with the transport. Oh my!
They did that once. They did that once with Mary of Nazareth. That was the whole
thing. Wait, what now?
The Bible? You heard of it?
Yeah, they did
Sorry,
that
that was a
another time with-
stupid. That was a stupid fucking
That
joke.
was great.
The Enterprise actually traveled back in time to create Christianity.
But of course, unfortunately, there's no sperm teleporting into eggs. There's nothing else. The real solution is that Picard says these people were destined to meet one another. Allow the clones to fuck the Irish. The Irish must fuck the clones. It says but then they're like, oh, but there may be some troubles if we do this. And make the clones
Rebels.
Make the clones integrating with the Irish. There's troubles a brewing. But the
Like the clones, straight up, listeners. The clones, they're like, I don't know about them. They're like, I don't know. They seem like they basically just called them, like if they didn't in
Dirty.
the episode, it would have been in place for the episode for the clones to just be like, well, those are degenerates. I'm not kidding. Like that's 100% what clone.
I wanted the triplets that were all Eddie Murphy lookalikes be the ones to step forward and say that. It's like, we can't associate with these degenerate Irish.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, the show was wild. That the cloning planet was definitely fucked, and Pulaski was into it.
Oh yeah, they were fucked.
Oh my god.
And Pulaski and all her infinite empathy was like, I want to go permission to go down and stare at these weirdos for a couple days, Captain. Can I do that? Can I just like? And then they're like, oh yes, please come down. You can help us. Oh, I'm not going to help you. There's literally nothing for me to do. I'm coming to watch you die.
Yeah, seriously. The solution, the ultimate solution, is that there has to be very strict rules for the clones fucking the Irish. Monogamy is no longer possible. That's rule 1. Every woman must have 3 husbands and 3 children for one each. That's rule 2. These are commandments that Picard is laying down. I don't get why, but the master clone, he comes down and he's like startled by the pregnant teenager holding a little baby goat. He's like, oh, it's disgusting. There's some men laughing for no reason. This man is scandalized by the lives of the Irish. The hot lady that Riker fucked is pretty pissed about this whole thing, and Picard's like, oh, you're free to go wherever you want, but here, let me browbeat you into staying and becoming the broodmare for these clones.
God.
So
we'll prepare a den for you where you can just sit around all day and become like an ant queen or a bee queen.
But it's okay.
Just sit.
She consents by being just a little horned up by the prospect of having 3 husbands, and she's like, "Oh, what's that guy's job? What's this very old man's job? Oh, this old clone.
He's a prime minister. That sounds like a fancy title. He has 2 coins to rub together. I'm sure of it." And it's just like
literal word. That's a literal line. That's not joking.
Yep.
Literal line.
He's a high status man.
Even though there's only 200 people on their planet, they have like markets. They've brought capitalism with them. Of course, the Irish don't know what a prime minister is because they didn't have a word for republic until the English.
I cannot imagine we're gonna get it. I'm so scared that we're gonna get a Native American episode in this up and fucking Data and Data's just gonna have a feather like one of the the feather God damn it. I forgot what it's called, but the ceremonial headdress, right? And they're just gonna be riding in with fucking deer chaps and shit in the holodeck, and they're just gonna be living out this weird fucking Dances with Wolves fantasy.
Zats, you're spoiling Star Trek Voyager for yourself. Please stop.
Oh my fucking Christ.
I'm just kidding.
And that's not Voyager.
I'm just kidding. While it is indeed Voyager, it is also Next Generation. Look forward to it.
No.
Well, that's Left Trek, folks. So let's rate the up the long ladder. I still don't understand what up the long ladder means, and IMDb is not informing me. Apparently the original title was Send in the Clones, which a better title, but also has some hilarious invocation. I guess send in the clones
send in the clones. It's like like Rocky and Bullwinkle started that thing where it's just like they give you like 2 titles in like the same episode. I don't know. Maybe I'm dating myself. True. I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to say it's just like send in the clones or I've lost me Lucky Charms.
Zots, please rate the episodes out of a minimum of 3 husbands.
Jesus. So wait, a minimum of 3 husbands?
A minimum of 3 husbands in order to ensure genetic diversity.
I want 0 husbands because
0 out of
I don't
3 husbands.
Zots don't need a man.
I don't need to see any more episodes like this. I would rather this one not. I would rather this one, be left in a car in the summertime. Just let it never again.
Just let it melt away. Brian, please rate this episode out of an average of 45% alcohol by volume.
I'm gonna give it a pretty low proof here. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's 2% ABV. That's a bad episode.
Oh,
A real kombucha level episode.
Yeah, seriously.
Listener, I cannot articulate like this episode. Really, like all I can do is literally. The only thing I can say is like if you were to look up how, oh my god, I can't. I literally can't articulate it. It is the most culturally insensitive thing I have seen in pop culture, like that just like comes to mind. Like it is just blatant, just like I once again I'm surprised that there wasn't somebody literally they were called to the thing because somebody was trying to cook like oatmeal.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's a real slog. It's a real bore. It is actually actively offensive. All right, so someone give me one.
Okay, out of 2 unwashed Irish feet.
Oh well,
How many are you sucking, Riker?
I'll never let a good foot go unwashed. However, I'm gonna have to give this a 0. So I'm gonna have to thoroughly scrub those feet and give it a 0 out of 2 unwashed Irish potato feet.
You're cleaning those feet. Yeah,
I remember this episode and it's still
watching,
kind of, and I forgot most of it at the same time. It's so shitty.
Watching this episode, like really, like for like a second, was like literally giving me sympathy for all those fucking white dudes that were like Irish were slaves too, like type shit. Like that's not fucking like this episode like literally
you
set
didn't
up.
really appreciate the bigotry until you saw it in
it's
full
just like,
glory.
It's like
It turns out the Irish are oppressed. Oh my god, it's all real.
I mean, it's not like it's not wrong. It's just holy just. Fucking Christ! The title
don't
is
watch
part,
this one. The title is part of the traditional Irish expression, "up the long ladder and down the short rope." I was going to make a death by hanging joke, but I I didn't know how tasteful it would be. However, apparently the episode this is about a hanging joke. The episode title is an Irish joke about being hung, presumably by Cromwell. So to close out the episode, unless anyone have any closing thoughts, because I have a great close for this episode. Everyone's gonna love.
No, I mean, you take it away.
Okay.
Take it away.
So the lowest rated, the least helpful thing on IMDb, the least helpful trivia about this episode, mariposa is the Spanish word for butterfly.
Oh, so hopeful.
Good night,
They
everyone.
say it in the episode. My God.
Da-